Bereshit, Genesis, chapter 18. Abraham was 90 years old and 9 when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin, in accordance with the covenant that Yahweh God made with him. And Ishmael his son was 13 years old when he was circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin. In the selfsame day was Abraham circumcised, and Ishmael his son. And all the men of his house, those born in the house, and those bought with money of a foreigner, were circumcised with him. And Yahweh appeared to him by the oaks of Mamre, as he sat in the tent door in the heat of the day. And he lifted up his eyes and looked, and lo, 3 men stood over against him. And when he saw them, he ran to meet them from the tent door, and bowed himself to the earth, and said, My Lord, if now I have found favor in thy sight, pass not away, I pray thee, from thy servant. Let now a little water be fetched, and wash your feet, and rest yourselves under the tree. And I will fetch a morsel of bread, and strengthen ye your heart. After that ye shall pass on, forasmuch as ye are come to your servant. And they said, So do, as thou hast said. And Abraham hastened into the tent to Sarah, and said, Make ready quickly 3 measures of fine meal, knead it, and make cakes. And Abraham ran to the herd, and fetched a calf tender and good, and gave it to the servant, and he hasted to dress it. And he took butter and milk, and the calf which he had dressed, and set it before them. And he stood by them under the tree, and they did eat. And they said to him, Where is Sarah thy woman? And he said, Behold, in the tent. And he said, I will certainly return to thee when the season cometh round, and lo, Sarah thy woman shall have a son. And Sarah heard in the tent door, which was behind him. Now Abraham and Sarah were old, advancing in the days of their lives. It had ceased to be with Sarah after the manner of women. And Sarah laughed within herself, saying, After I am become old, shall I have pleasure, my Lord being old also? And Yahweh said to Abraham, For what reason did Sarah laugh, saying, Shall I of a surety bear a child, who am old? Is anything too hard for Yahweh? At the set time I will return to thee, when the season cometh round, and Sarah shall have a son. Then Sarah denied, saying, I laughed not, for she was afraid. And he said, Nay, but thou didst laugh. And the men rose up from thence, and looked toward Sodom, and Abraham went with them to bring them on the way. And Yahweh said, Shall I hide from Abraham that which I do? Seeing that Abraham shall surely become a great and mighty nation, and all the nations of the earth shall be blessed in him. For I have known him to the end that he may command his children and his household after him, that they keep the way of Yahweh, to do righteousness and justice, to the end that Yahweh may bring upon Abraham that which he hath spoken of him. And Yahweh said, Because the cry of Sodom and Gomorrah is great, and because their sin is very grievous, I will go down now and see whether they have done altogether according to the cry of it, which is come to me. And if not, I will know. And the men turned from thence and went toward Sodom. But Abraham stood yet before Yahweh. And Abraham drew near and said, Wilt thou consume the righteous with the wicked? Perhaps there are 50 righteous within the city. Wilt thou consume and not spare the place for the 50 righteous that are therein? That be far from thee to do after this manner, to slay the righteous with the wicked, so that the righteous should be as the wicked. That be far from thee. Shall not the judge of all the earth do right? And Yahweh said, If I find in Sodom 50 righteous within the city, then I will spare all the place for their sake. And Abraham answered and said, Behold now, I have taken upon me to speak to the Lord, who am but dust and ashes. Perhaps there shall lack 5 of the 50 righteous. Wilt thou destroy all the city for lack of 5? And he said, I will not destroy it, if I find there 45. And he spoke to him yet again and said, Perhaps there shall be 40 found there. And he said, I will not do it for the 40's sake. And he said, Oh, let not the Lord be angry, and I will speak. Perhaps there shall 30 be found there. And he said, I will not do it, if I find 30 there. And he said, Behold now, I have taken upon me to speak to the Lord. Perhaps there shall be 20 found there. And he said, I will not destroy it for the 20's sake. And he said, Oh, let not the Lord be angry, and I will speak yet but this once. Perhaps 10 shall be found there. And he said, I will not destroy it for the 10's sake. And Yahweh went his way, as soon as he had left off communing with Abraham. And Abraham returned to his place. And the 2 messengers came to Sodom at even.